So the Bolar provision or the Bolar exemption is chartered under Section 107 A of the Indian Patent Act, which exempts the third party from infringement processes in case it's used for research and development processes. Which means that if the third party uses it for any other purpose other than R&D, then they are liable for the patent infringement proceeds. This particular provision finds its nexus with the Hatch-Waxman Act, which has got this 4 paras of the ANDA filing or the abbreviated new drug application filing. The third party or the generic manufacturer usually would take around 2 to 3 years to get marketing approvals from various authorities, which means this 2 to 3 years gets added on to the monopoly period of the inventor, that is equal to 23 years around, and hence to curtail this monopoly period and to put a stopgap to it, this provision was an enablement to it. So whereas it gives acquiescence to manufacture, construct, that's use, sell, import of the patented invention to a third party for R&D intents, whether post-procurement it's really being used for the purpose of achieving R&D objectives or not is a matter worth probing, and definitely because Innovator company has invested in and put in a lot of stakes with regards to this invention. So it's very clear that the generic manufacturers and for the public it's a thorough boon, that's fiscally, but at the same time are the innovators adequately protected? Let's take a look at Merck Sharp and Dohme versus SMS Pharmaceuticals Limited, which gyrates around an anti-diabetic drug sitagliptin. It was alleged by Merck that SMS Pharmaceuticals was exporting their patented invention and was also making it available in the domestic market for sale. At this bidding, Merck was successful in obtaining an ex parte ad interim injunction. On the other hand, it was SMS's contention that it was an API manufacturing company and that it participated in the research and development activities so as to provide the drugs at affordable prices, and therefore moved an application for vacating the ex parte ad interim injunction. So in this context, it was indicated by SMS Pharmaceuticals that their purpose was to manufacture generic drugs at affordable prices when the patent term expires. SMS further relied upon the judgment of Bayer Corp versus Union of India and referred to Section 107 A of the Indian Patent Act and said that the sale and export that was carried on for research and development purposes was permissible and hence their activities was within the ambit. Therefore, the court went ahead vacating the ex parte ad interim injunction and gave a go-ahead to the defendant to continue with the exports. While we see the rulings of the court, there has been an immense tilt towards the third party. What needs to be considered that although Section 107 A aids in curtailing the monopoly of the innovators post-expiry and save out on the generic manufacturer's time, due consideration also needs to be given to the fact that third party in the guise of R&D doesn't commercialize it in certain domains. Correspondingly, the term export, which is not explicitly used in Section 107 A, is generally hoarded under the general explanation allocated to selling. In Bayer Corp versus Union of India, the court emphasized that export was within the ambit of selling, and secondly, that a grant of compulsory license cannot deprive of the rights ascertained under Section 107 A. So the question then remains as to whether dual rights can be rendered to a third party. A compulsory license grant is specifically for the purposes of trade, and so where is the subject of R&D at all? And lastly, what is the minimum quantity of the drug that can be permissible per se exports? We certainly cannot overlook the enormous expenditure that goes behind an innovator development, and therefore, even if there's an extension, there can be a corroboration to that effect, but a random assignment of manufacture, etc. rights that's granted to a third party, which could be misused in the process, in certain cases, cannot be snubbed.